two quick ones, actually,
Yeah, sure.
Patrick. One is it worthwhile to possibly be operating using a VPN when it comes to building other sites and emails and that kind of a thing, just so that you decrease the footprint?
I think not. I think at the level that we're working at, it's fine. If you're building out 1,000 sites and 1,000 GMBs a month, then maybe you need to start looking at that stuff. One thing to keep in mind is VPNs can be detected. They may not be able to determine what your real IP is, but when you go and you get a VPN, usually what's happening is you're sharing the IP address. Like you connect to the VPN and they've got like a whole pool of IP addresses, right? So they may have like 1,000 IP addresses, and everybody else that's using those 1,000 IP addresses are doing it to hide their IP address. So we don't know what they're doing, right? Well, we know that they don't want other people to know what their IP address is, and they're going to go perform these activities. And then what we're going to do is we're going to try to build out our Google My Business properties and stuff like this, which is something that's based on trust, right? And we also know that Google knows that we're using a VPN. Like if you try to connect, some softwares and some things will say, hey, you can't do this because you're on a VPN. Like, right? I think Netflix sometimes has certain ways, and there's like ways to get around it. But when you're focused on trust, I would not be messing with it. I think a better alternative is proxies. And you can actually buy like a dedicated proxy, but that I don't think is necessary at all for the levels that most of us are operating at right now. And if you're not at that level, then you've probably already solved that problem. So like almost it's like if you're asking the question, then you probably don't need it, is my response. If you otherwise you've already solved the problem if you need it, because but like Chad Kemble, I think he's doing like 5 or 10,000 GMBs a month, and he's somebody that needs that type of stuff. But for us, building like 10 sites a month, maybe we're setting up like 10 or 15 GMBs. We certainly don't need it in my mind. And I think you're just going to shoot yourself in the foot more than anything.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I just wasn't sure when, talking about like GMB builds, having to use an email per one, wasn't sure if there was some of that anonymity that needs to potentially be done just to mitigate the footprint issue. Yep. And then same thing with emails. Is it something that really doesn't matter much between having a domain specific email and of course having to pay for it versus just generating regular Gmail email accounts per GMB?
Well, I think the difference is what we pay for is we pay for some Gmails that are aged. And they're like, they're called PVA. They're phone verified aged emails. And there's different places that you can buy these. Part of it for us was just like a speed thing where I can just like pay, I don't know, like $100 and get 100 Gmails. And it takes me like 10 minutes instead of like paying someone to create each one of those. The phone verification, I think it used to be better. To be honest, I'm not sure. Like, I don't like, I guess I have my doubts. I don't know if it's better or not. I've heard that it is, but we've had issues too. So, and there's like hoops that you got to jump through when you're trying to sign into these things. Sometimes they're phone verified, and like maybe we didn't have access to like the phone number, and it was just like we lost it. Then I don't know. It was just like there's a little bit of a hassle with it. I would say for you specifically, with the amount of sites that you have now, I would just be like, create them on your own. Don't worry about it. What's the simplest way? You know what you did this last week, Dave, is you're kind of like, I have an exam that I'm not prepared for, and I need to cut off all the fat and just focus on what's important now, right?
Right.
That's where I think if everyone operated that way and we don't go down these rabbit holes of trying to get fancy with this stuff, then I think we'll move a lot faster. We'll move down a lot more. Like we like this. They say that it will take you like for a level 1 language. A lot of times it will take you like 3 to 6 months with I think an hour a day before you're fluent. And the fluency is defined as like 90%. Like that's part of the equation. And then you can spend an additional like 2 years to get the last 10%. But like to be able to communicate, you probably need 60-70%. It's the same thing in this business, right? Like, you can go and create all this extra stuff and extra work for yourself, but like, what's the minimum you can do to get the maximum result? Those are the questions that we need to be, that can be a mantra. For me, that's my mantra a lot. I'll write down, I've got like 1,000 things that I could do today, and I've got 8 of them listed on my whiteboard over here. It's like, what's the minimum I can do to, like, the most important things I can do now? Because this business never ends, right? And I can come up with a million things to improve my ranking on stuff, but most of the stuff, it's going to be very negligible if like meaningless, right? So trim the fat, get into this like cram exam mode, and just do what is necessary now, right? Like, we don't need VPNs. Like, it's just like, what's the quickest way? Your boss is going to be breathing down your neck if you don't finish this a week from now. Let's trim the fat. Let's get into that like almost panicky mindset of trying to get this thing done, right?